what any 27-year-old male would do at the time was I ignored it. I figured, you know what, if I didn't think about it, it would just go away on its own. In fact, I didn't even tell my wife I was diagnosed for another 3 months.
Yeah, because it's a shock. I remember my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and we found out once she couldn't move, and that was hard. And so, and I understand your perspective. Why would you bring this news? So, what were you thinking? Like, if I bring this news to my wife, what's going to happen? What were you thinking back then?
Well, I was thinking that that this was, and this is where the childish thinking of a 27-year-old male comes in, right? I was thinking that, by sharing this, one of two things is going to happen. Number one, I'm showing that I'm, my body is frail, it's fragile, and that I'm not being the strong male model
the alpha,
the alpha, right?
Uh-huh.
And that there would be weakness, right? And then I would bring shame to our family because there is weakness, and that I wouldn't be able to defend my family, and not just from a physical perspective, but from a financial and everything. So I wanted to avoid that type of shame for myself. I think, that's actually, I know that was one of the reasons, but at the same time, I also wanted to protect her from the disease. I didn't want her to have to deal with the burden, right? Which I know now today, after living with it for more than 18 years, that was the wrong mindset. That was the wrong way of thinking about it. Hiding it from her, trying to shield her, trying to protect her and my family from the disease actually hurt them in the long run. So I think initially that was my initial reaction was to just ignore it. I didn't want to burden her with it. I didn't want to burden my family with it. And I wanted to protect them from it by keeping it all internal to myself. And then when I finally told her 3 months later, it's only because I wanted to start taking medication.
Yeah, I think this is so important that you're sharing this for everyone out there, because sometimes, all the mindset beliefs, all the spiritual beliefs, all of the, as you were saying, like, I'm not sure if this is ego or if just this is a survival aspect that we as humans have to just survive in the tribe, and we have our deep inner fears of not belonging or hurting others. But it's so important. I'm so grateful. You are so open. That's why I love when you were speaking that you really connected with the soul of people out there. People, if they are like feeling something that is off, like, don't be afraid to share it with others, because you never know where healing is going to come from. You never know the response of other people. You never know how more inclusivity you're going to experience, and keeping it hiding. And this, Jimmy, you touched something like this alpha mentality thing, both for women and men, that is going on in the world. I'm like, if we truly are alphas and omegas, if we truly are that, we're just going to be honest and truthful, and we're going to be powerfully vulnerable, and we're going to be the best version of ourselves that we can. For me, that I'm never being attracted to the concept of the alpha, tough, we hold it all together. I feel that's hurting us more, and in the long run as a humanity. So you finally share with her. I had the privilege to meet her. She seems to be like your support thing. So how was this taken by your family? I know I want to ask you from the other perspective of the work you've been doing, but how was this taken by your family?
Well, I think it came as a shock to my family, of course, right? Again, the public perception of Parkinson's is that it is a disease for an old person. So for somebody that young to be diagnosed, it's a shock. It's like, are you sure? Did you get a second opinion? Did you get a third opinion? Yes, I got 3 different opinions after my initial diagnosis. But I also noticed that there's a cultural part of all of this, is that I come from an Asian background. Maybe not super traditional, but certainly a traditional Asian background. And anytime there's a sickness or a disease or any type of adversity that goes on within a family, everybody seems to shy away from it. Nobody talks about it in public. It's a hush hush, keep it a secret, because we don't want to show family weakness, right? So I mean, I think initially there was a lot of that. Let's not talk about it, and let's just try to go about the best we can life as we know it, and just chug along. And I think initially that's one of the reasons that I went into deep denial over the next 8 years of my initial diagnosis. So the first 8 years from the point I was diagnosed, and for the next 8 years, I did less than the bare minimum to manage my diagnosis with Parkinson's, and part of that is because of my cultural upbringing. Is that let's not talk about it. Let's not show signs of weakness, which then in turn would be a bad reflection on the family because of my situation. And then you always have to fight to put on that smile when you go into public events, right? Into family gatherings or friend gatherings or work events and things like that. You always have to just put on that mask, put on that fake smile, and just go with it. And then you have to do everything that you possibly can to hide your symptoms. So I was, constantly having my hands in my pocket. I was constantly sitting on my hands because I didn't want to show the tremors. I was, if I was feeling a little bit off balance, I would just stay seated and not move, and then if I was tired, you just gotta battle through it when you're out in public. And then when you get home to your own family, when your life really mattered, then you're just so bone tired, and then you end up not spending time with them. And you can see how all of that can start drive the people who are close to you away from you because of all that.
There's a body of work called Family Constellations that works on all of these aspects of family secrets, hidden loyalties. You're speaking about this. In my culture, I'm from Mexico. This is huge. Like, you don't speak about weaknesses, because who are we going to be in society? Who are we going to show up that we are? We got to show up strength and courage, even if you have nothing to show for courage, and it really hurts. It's a systemic transgenerational hurt that we carry, like you carried that from previous, from your ancestors. It's probably an ancestral. It's called ancestral loyalty. We're loyal to the system. We're loyal to the way things are supposed to be, so we can look photoshopped. Jimmy, it's so Photoshop. It's like, let's Photoshop our lives so we look strong, we look alpha, we look powerful, but it's just Photoshop. At the end of the day, you remove the filters, you remove the mask, and that's who you are. So I feel it's far much more courageous, all that you are sharing, that anyone telling me, hey, I killed it, hey, I did this. No, actually, you have my absolute respect for your journey. So let's move forward in time. So 8 years of denial, that's like, I can see where I have had denial in all areas of my life. So but you just brought awareness to myself. But 8 years of denial. So what was the shift? When did you decide to, like, I'm actually going to embrace this? This is the truth. This is the fact. And I got to do something with it. What happened?
Well, I think this is true for just about everybody. In order for a person to really deal with their own adversity or their own situation or their own inner demons or whatever you want to call it, there has to be a moment of shock, a rock bottom moment. Everybody has to experience that traumatic instance to jolt you into action. And for me, it was my son. So this was right around 2010. He's only just about 10 months old. I was carrying him. And by this time, remember, my disease had progressed for 8 years and I did nothing about it. So I was walking with a cane. I was very inactive and I weighed 240 pounds. But I was carrying my son only 10 months old. And going down the stairs, I'm like, you know what? I have the railing, I have the stairs, I have my son. I don't need my cane. So I just carried him, but that was a bad move. And the two of us went tumbling down. I fell, and I tried to take a step, and my leg didn't register the movement, because of Parkinson's. And then the two of us just fell down the entire flight of stairs. My wife and my daughter witnessed that fall. I looked up at them as I hit the bottom. I kept my son Mason, above my body the entire time, so he wasn't hurt. Certainly scared, but he wasn't hurt. But when I landed at the bottom of the stairs and I looked up at my daughter and my wife's face, that look was enough to scare anybody.
Oh my goodness! Yes,
what am I doing? What have I done? I've ignored this disease to the point where I've become a danger to my kids and a burden to my wife. I'm supposed to help her raise this family. Instead, I'm giving her more work to keep this family intact, because of my own ignorance, ignoring this disease. And that was the moment. That was my rock bottom moment, I always call it, right? I knew then, at that point in time, that I needed to make some changes. I needed to do something. I didn't know what it was yet, but I knew I had to do something different, because up to this point, I haven't done anything different, and it's not helping my situation. It's only making it worse. So I've got to make something different.
Wow. And these rock bottom moments, I always try to tell people how important they are. If they weren't, we will all be like getting changes in our life by the happy moments. But for some reason, how we're wired as humans is we need those rock bottom moments to go to the depth of situations, to go to in the hero's journey, it's called like falling into the cave, like you are in the abyss, and you are going to have to find out a way to climb up, to get out and make a decision. Either you stay down low, die, and take everyone with you, or you figure out a way. And that's where the power of the human spirit emerges, right? That which I felt in you when you were speaking. I was like, you are the embodiment of one of my favorite authors. His name is James Allen. He wrote a book, As a Man Thinketh. And there's a little phrase, it's a poem that he wrote, that he says, you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its own content in that poor war environment. A lot of us succumb to the diagnosis, succumb to like, I cannot move one arm, Jimmy, right? One of my legs, it was rebuilt. I was supposed not to walk, but I'm walking. I cannot move my right arm. And so my environment didn't determine what I've been able to do, like you. And I'm about to move to the ninja. And then it says, the human will that force on sin, the birthplace of a deathless soul. I believe with the rock bottom is where you either meet the other self, that you meet the soul, you made a decision to get out of there. So, wow, I just feel like when I could feel, I'm very visual when you were falling and the baby there. Oh, I want to go back in time and protect that moment.
Oh. Yeah, it was the scariest time I've ever experienced. And you're right. It's, it jolted, it changed something in my brain that day. I didn't, like I said, at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do, but so I took a step back, and then I looked at, I looked at it from a perspective of what I can do. I know I can't fund the cure because I didn't have enough money to pay for billions and billions of dollars of research. So I know I can't do that. I know I can't find a cure myself because simply I'm not a scientist and I'm not smart enough to do that. It takes teams and teams of people to figure that stuff out. But what I can do is I can support both of those efforts. I can help raise money. I can be a part of the studies. There are clinical trials out there looking for people to participate and gather data, and that these clinical trials are just often starving for participants. So that's how I was going to help. I was going to sign up for these clinical trials. I was going to give my body up for science, and help in that way. And to be honest with you, initially it was very selfish in the way that I was thinking.
Why, Jimmy? Mhm.
Well, after 8 years of